So, you have American Express points, and you're wondering, what the heck do I even do with them? How do I get max value? Well, thankfully, you've come to the right place, because over the past 10 years, I've had a chance to travel all over the world, flying for free and staying for free, all by being effective with my credit card points. Now, I didn't one day show up and know exactly what to do, because there are some bad ways and there's some great ways to use your points. And be sure you stick around to the best redemption option, because that is what's gonna let you start flying in business class for basically free. And if you're new around here, hi, I'm John of John's Finance Tips. This is a channel we talk all things money, saving, investing, but today we're specifically talking how you can start saving some money by being smart and effective with your American Express points. So we have two parts in this video. The first part, I'm actually show you what type of scale and criteria we use to evaluate points. In the second part, we're gonna go over the 7 ways to redeem your American Express points for maximum value. Part 1, how do we measure the value of credit card points? Similar to how a GPA measures your aptitude as a student, or a thermometer measures how warm it is, you can use a unit of measure called the cent per point to measure how valuable a credit card point is. And to determine the cent per point of any particular redemption option, what you would do is take the cash value divided by the points you need, and you multiply by 100. So as an example, let's say you found a flight from Boston to New York City, and it would have cost you $100 if you paid cash money. However, you could use your credit card points and redeem it for 10,000 points. So then what you would do is you take 100, which is the cash value, divided by 10,000, which is the points you are planning to use, multiply that by 100, and you get a cent per point value of 1. 1 is the baseline. And if something is at a 1 cent per point value, it means it's just good enough. It's not great, it's not bad, it's kind of where you want most things to end up. If you're way under it, it's not so great. If you're way above it, then you're getting complete outsized value for your points. Now, there is a slight caveat to this cent per point formula, but we'll get into that once we get into the later sections. Now let's talk about the 7 ways to redeem your American Express points for maximum value. The list is gonna go from number 7, which I think isn't as great, all the way to number 1, which is probably the best way. Redemption option number 7. First, you wanna go ahead and pop into your AmericanExpress.com and go over to the rewards page, and that's gonna list out all of the different ways in which you can redeem your points. And when it comes to shopping, that is literally using your American Express membership reward points to buy things through their shopping portal. So let's say the holidays are coming around, you have a stash of points, you don't know what to do with it, you think, hey, why don't I just go on and use my points and buy a gift? Not so fast. So let's go ahead and double click into here and see what type of value we get for redeeming our points with the shopping portal. So in here, you can see you can pretty much buy anything. But let's focus on this MacBook here. So the cash value of this MacBook with everything added together is about $1,698.94. If instead though, you decided that you want to use your points, you would spend 339,788 American Express membership reward points. So we go ahead and plug that into our cent per point formula. You take the cash value divided by the points you require, multiply that by that 100, and you get 0.5 cents per point. Remember, 1 cent per point is baseline. 0.5 cent per point, well, that's not so great. Personally for me, this is an option I would largely avoid. Option 6, using your American Express points for statement credit. So with this option, what you're doing is taking a look at your statement at the end of every single month, and then whatever American Express points you have, you would apply it towards your statement. It would just be a credit. On the surface, that seems kind of cool, right? You go ahead and you're spending every single month, you're getting your American Express points, and you can turn around and use your points to cover your charges. The reality is that it's not as great. So looking here, it actually gives you a calculator to see how much your points would cover. So I went in and plugged in 1 point, and it said it would cover about 60 cents. However, the error that American Express gave me is I have to enter an amount above 1.67. So we go ahead and enter in 1.67. That would cover $1 worth of a statement credit. So we take that and plug it into our cent per point formula. The cent per point formula is the cash amount you would have had to use divided by the points you did use, multiplied by 100, and you get 0.59 cent per point, which we can roughly just call 0.6 cent per point. Now, that is better than just shopping with your points, but still that is certainly below our baseline value of 1 cent per point, so I generally wouldn't recommend this strategy. Number 5, cover your charges. So we go back to that main screen and we click into cover your card charges. And here it's gonna pull up all of the eligible charges that your points can be spent against. So instead of the statement credit option, where it just broadly deducts a certain amount off your statement, you can actually go in here and strategically pick certain items that you bought to go ahead and redeem your points against. So for me, let's go ahead and take a look at this T-Mobile bill. So last month, I paid $248.24. Don't worry, this was a family plan. I cover me, my fiance, my family, and one old college friend, right? This isn't just like a one-person T-Mobile bill. If instead of paying for it how I regularly do, I could use points, and that point value would have cost me $41,373. So we take that and plug it into our cent per point formula, which is again, the cash value I would have had to spend divided by the points I plan to use, multiplied by 100, and we get 0.6 cents per point, which is the exact same as the statement credit. I guess this one allows you to be more strategic of you want to cover certain charges, but nonetheless, I probably wouldn't look at this option because it's well below our baseline measure of 1 cent per point. Number 4, gift cards. This option allows you to take your American Express points and buy gift cards. So we go ahead and elect for that option. And we can see there's a bunch of gift cards here that we can buy. Let's say you love Starbucks. You wanna go ahead and get a Starbucks gift card valued at $10. Well, that would cost you 1,428 American Express points. We plug that into our formula, the cash value of the gift card divided by the points we need to spend, multiplied by 100, and we get a cent per point value of 0.7, which I guess is better than the first 3 options we looked at 0.5 and 0.66, but it's still below our baseline. And sometimes with gift cards, you can get a higher cent per point value. I checked it on some popular ones, including Target here, where you can get a $25 Target gift card for 3,572 points, but when we plug that into our formula, we're still coming at 0.7 cents per point. I would say this is an option I'm not all that thrilled about, but again, compared to the others, maybe if these were the only things you were considering using your points for. Now we're cracking into the top 3, and this is where things start to get a little bit more interesting. So coming at number 3, we have pay with points at checkout. What this basically means is you go and check out at a place like say Amazon or PayPal or the slew of other retailers here on this list, and instead of just paying with your credit card, you can use the points directly. And you're probably thinking, isn't that the same thing as the statement credit and cover your charges? Yes and no. It effectively does the same thing, but there's a bit of a nuance here. So I went to Amazon and found this external battery pack, which by the way, this isn't sponsored or anything, but Anker battery packs are literally the freaking coolest. Magnet, stand, display. Anyway, that's not why we're here talking. So I found an Anker external battery pack, and right now, if I were to buy it in checkout, it would cost me cash $33.99. However, if instead I just paid with points using my American Express membership reward points, it would cost me 4,856 points. So let's go ahead and plug it into our cent per point formula. $33.99 over 4,856 multiplied by 100, and you get a value of 0.7 cents per point. Now, it's not great. We're not at the 1 cent per point baseline, but did you notice that here, 0.7 cent per point? Whereas if you had purchase this thing with your American Express credit card and then use your points as a statement credit, you would only get 0.6 cents per point. And if you had covered it as a charge, just this specific thing, it would be 0.6 cents per point. But in effect, you're buying the same thing and you're using points, but you can get vastly different value. I don't understand how it works, but that's just the way it is. And so I'm very thankful that you're watching this video so that you know how to get the most value for your membership reward point. Number 2. Using your points for travel. So this involves using American Express's travel portal. Let's say you want to take a round trip flight from Boston down to Orlando, and that at a cash value would cost $276. If instead you want to use points, it would cost 27,620 points. You plug that into the cent per point formula, and you would get a 1 cent per point value. Hey, we're at baseline. This isn't bad. This actually is an okay and acceptable way to use your points at 1 cent per point. Now, instead of flying, you want to stay at a hotel. I went ahead and took a look at bookings in New York City. If you were to splurge at the Langham in New York City, you could spend $702 a night or 70,200 points. You plug that into the cent per point formula, the cash you would have spent over the points you did spend or plan to spend multiplied by 100, and you would get 1 cent per point. Again, not bad. Now, personally, am I gonna drop 70,000 points? Probably not. But again, just know that this is not a bad value for the points that you're going to use. And now the number 1 way to get the most value from your membership reward points, that would be transferring your points. In the entire credit card game, if you will, The way to get the most value from your points, it's to take the points that you have not just from American Express, but even from Chase or Citi or Capital One, and then moving them to one of their airline or hotel partners. Because when the points are with those partners, you can then start hunting and finding sweet spots where you get incredible outsized value. So in order to make the transfer, you want to make an account on those respective airlines or hotel programs. Once you have that frequent flyer number, then you can go ahead and plug it into here and transfer the points over. But my number one pro tip is, before you take your American Express points and start transferring them willy-nilly to other airlines and hotels, do your research and make sure that the flight or the stay that you want to book is actually available. So right now, I'm going to walk you quickly through 5 examples of how you can transfer points to get the most value. And as we progress through the list, we're going to get more and more value from our points. The first transfer partner we're going to look at is Virgin. So this year, Viv and I are going to go out to Europe, round trip in economy, and we're bringing the 2 little doggos. With that being said, we were a little bit limited on flight options as well as carriers. So we ended up flying with Delta. Now, if I had booked this ticket cash per person round trip, it would have been about $1,112.50. Instead, I used points on Virgin Atlantic to book this Delta flight. The reason I can do that is because they're partners and so they have access to each other's flights. This cost me round trip 60,000 points and about $64.50 in taxes and fees. So remember earlier I said there's a little bit of a difference in calculating the cent per point formula when you book flight awards? Well, here's where it plays in. So the formula right now is the cash you would have spent divided by the points you did spend multiplied by 100. However, when you evaluate award flights that have taxes and fees, the formula is the cash you would have spent minus the cash you did spend in the form of taxes and fees divided by the points you do plan to spend multiplied by 100. So in this particular formula, we would take $1,112.50 minus the taxes and fees I did spend of $64.50. And all that you want to divide by 60,000 and multiply by 100. And you see that we get a cent per point value of 1.74. Folks, I mean, considering that we barely got to 1 cent per point and now we're at 1.74, this is a great value to use your points for an economy class ticket. Right now, Virgin, as of the making of this video, has a bonus where if you transfer your American Express membership reward points to Virgin, they give you more points. It's a 30% bonus, which means if I did the transfer now and I did the booking, I would have only had to use 46,150 American Express points to get 60,000 Virgin miles to make the booking. If we plug that into our formula, then we will get a cent per point of 2.27. Insane. Another example. Next year, we're going to be in Asia, traveling Japan as well as Bali. I found a business class flight on Garuda Indonesia flying from Tokyo to Bali direct. That costs 40,000 miles on Delta. And I know a lot of you have probably never heard of Garuda Indonesia, but all you need to know that it's a SkyTeam member, which means Delta points can make the booking for this flight. And that happens to cost about 4,010 Japanese yen, which is equivalent to about 25 US dollars. Instead, if I had paid cash for this business class ticket, it would have cost me $981. So we go ahead and take it and plug into our cent per point formula, 981 minus 25 divided by 40,000, and we get a cent per point value of 2.39 cents. So this is flying one way, business class, to Bali. I think it's like a 6 or 7 hour flight. I'm jumping on this all day. In fact, I am because I made the booking. How about something a little bit longer? How about getting out to Asia? How about on one of the world's longest flights, flying on one of the best airlines, Singapore Airlines? Well, if you want to fly from New York to Singapore, you could expect to pay about $4,052.10 cash in business class with Singapore Airlines. Instead though, I was able to find this available on the Air Canada website for just 87,500 Air Canada miles and about the equivalent of $56 in taxes and fees. So we plug that into our formula, $4,052.30 minus $56 in taxes and fees divided by 87,500, you multiply by 100 and you get a cent per point value of 4.56. Now, I specifically looked at the price for the business standard because I think that's more equivalent in value to the point redemption just based on some of the savings you have in terms of refunds and change fees on award flights. But regardless, over a 4 cent per point value. And again, we were struggling earlier to get even up to 1 cent per point. I hope you're starting to see by taking your American Express points and transfer them over, you get complete outsized value. But let's say instead of flying the world's longest flight, you just wanted to get out to Japan. Well, I've actually had a chance to get out to Japan a couple of times, and I actually have a couple more award bookings coming up available. However, let's talk about a round trip booking to Japan. All right, this flight is specifically from Chicago to Tokyo and back. And you'll be getting to fly on ANA, one of Japan's best airlines. cash value of this ticket? $8,815.09. However, if instead you were able to book this with award points transferred from your American Express over to the ANA program, that would cost you 100,000 points, about $537.80 in taxes and fees. And I know 100,000 sounds like a crazy amount, but I guess if you split out, it's 50K there and 50K back, which for business class seats, unheard of. So you plug this into our cent per point formula and you get a whopping 8.27 cents per point. If you see this deal, you're jumping on this any given day, no questions asked. This was something I found in April of next year. I don't know what it's gonna look like when the video is published, but that's insane just to give you an example. But we're not done here yet. What if instead of flying ANA's business class product, you wanted to fly their all new updated first class product? I mean, I had a chance to fly their old first class product. I can throw a couple videos up here, and that thing was incredible. But the new one seems absolutely out of this world. Well, if you want to fly round trip from New York to Tokyo on ANA first class, that would cost you cash out of pocket $3,884,690 yen, which is equivalent to about $25,100 US. 25 G's for a flight? No, we're not gonna do that. Instead, we're gonna be able to find this flight round trip for 150,000 points per person and about $533 in taxes and fees. Again, I know 150 sounds insane. When it's 75,000 points there and 75,000 points back, that is insane for first class. Right now, I'm spending 60,000 points just to fly one-way first class with their competitor, Japan Airlines. Anyway, let's go ahead and plug all of that into our cent per point formula. So $25,100 minus the $533 in tax and fees, divided all that by 150,000 multiplied by 100, you get, please drum roll, a cent per point value of 16.378. This right here is outsized value. This is how you get the most bang for your buck when you transfer points from American Express to ANA and book a round trip first class ticket from New York to Tokyo. So hopefully this video gave you an idea of how you can redeem your American Express points for maximum value. My personal preference is always to transfer to a flight partner or a hotel partner, but if you can't, at least use your travel portal. However, I wouldn't really look at anything other than that. Using your points for charges is really terrible value. Now, there is one caveat, and there is a card that's the American Express Platinum by Charles Schwab that will actually allow you to take your points and redeem them at a cent per point value of 1.1 by moving it over into the Schwab brokerage account. That's the only way that I would probably redeem it for cash, but otherwise, if you just have American Express points sitting around and you don't have the Platinum by Schwab, there's not really any recommendation I have for you to swap those and flip those into cash. Now, this has been a great video. If you have any comments, questions, drop it down below. And as always, I'll catch you on the next one. If you like to support the channel, you can feel free to check out any of my top affiliate offers in the description box down there as well. Peace.